All right, I'd like to call to order the City of Monona Sustainability Committee meeting of Thursday, July 11th, 2024. So you've got the roll.
Yep.
And I will take a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting, June 6th.
I will second, and I have one correction.
Absolutely.
The original motion?
Oh, am I the original? I thought
Yeah.
she said she'd move. She's looking for a motion. I'll move.
Looking for a motion, yeah?
I'll second.
All right.
Okay.
Pending changes to that, you said.
And
Yeah.
and just for and this is a really great point of order, point of information, Tim. So the motion and the second simply allows us now to discuss it. And go ahead, Rick. Do you have any changes, additions?
Yeah, it said in 5A, I think, Alder Rockemacher shared that Alder Bernstein and Thor met with City Clerk Hauser. I was not at that meeting.
I wish you were, so.
Oh.
And when I was writing those minutes, you were there in my mind.
Positive thinking. Okay.
You know, and I also have a change on the same page, page 5, second paragraph from the bottom. It starts, Alder Rockemacher asked if the library could put up a book display. I didn't go through I just don't think I did. And the only reason I think that way is because I believe I pushed back on that idea because it was so on such short notice.
Well, I thought you did, and on that basis, I asked for one and they did one.
Oh. Well, I guess we'll just leave it.
Now you can take credit for it.
Now I can take credit, sure, there you go.
It was small, but I mean, we definitely talked about the books and I
Sure.
got suggestions from other people.
Ashley sent you some suggestions, I think.
Ashley had a pretty good long list and Tim sent me some other books that he recommended, so.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, are there any more changes that we need to make to the minutes? Hearing none, let's take a vote on approving the minutes with the corrections mentioned by Alder Bernstein. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the minutes with that little update, the minutes are approved. Okay. Wonderful. So that takes us to our first order of business, but we have appearances and I don't think there are any appearances, but I do want to, or are there? Let me ask Thor. No?
No.
Okay. Wonderful. In that case, top of the agenda, welcome to our new member. We're so happy you're here. Can you give us a little introduction, please?
Sure, absolutely. So I am kind of on and off long-term Madison, Monona resident. This is my third time living here. Did undergrad, grad school, and worked at the university and just keep on coming back. My background is in conservation biology and sustainable development. I've done kind of a range of work, earlier career more on the conservation side and increasingly more sustainability. So my position now, I'm a remote worker, full-time writer, editor for what used to be known as Rocky Mountain Institute. They now just go by RMI. They're focused on sustainable energy transition, pretty global in nature. So I'm on their development team. Yeah, so that's every day for me. I have a 2-year-old and big garden and love to do lots of outdoor things. And because my job is so remote in nature, I really wanted to get involved and work here. And so I'm excited to join and contribute what I can.
I know how you feel. I know how you feel. My apologies for not saying your name to everyone. Can you share your first and last name, please?
Oh, yes, sorry about that. Jamie McDevitt Gallus.
McDevitt.
It's a long one, yeah.
And Thor will be sharing email contact information with all of the committee members so that you have everyone else's email and phone that you can reach out between meetings if you care to.
Oh, great. Okay, sounds good.
Welcome, Jamie. I'm really happy to have you here. Would the folks in the room like to go next and just go around the table a little bit and introduce yourself?
I'll go. My name's Rick Bernstein. I'm co-chairing with Teresa. I'm an alder. The newest alder of the 6. I think Teresa is the second newest. I live here in Monona, have been here for 12 years, 13. And I'm on a few other committees like library, public safety, and senior citizens committee. But I'm retired. I used to work at the State Historical Society. But now I just work part-time for a small local historical society, the Dane County Historical Society. So I keep my hand in a little bit with that. I've got 2 kids, both grown, house launched. So we're empty nesters and a dog and a cat.
Sure. Tim Kruger, been in Monona for 3 years. I'm a physician by day in the SSM system. And upon moving here, got engaged with the sustainability committee through the No Mow May campaign. Kind of helped out with what turned into kind of the bee and butterfly brigade. So I've been engaged with that informally for about a year, and then there was a vacancy and applied for a lot of the same reasons that you kind of espoused. So look forward to working with them.
All right, I'm Thor Jepson. I am the staff liaison for the Sustainability Committee. My role at the city is the assistant planner in the Planning and Community Development Department. My time is mostly on the planning side, but I get to spend a little bit of time every week on sustainability and also historic preservation. I staff our Landmarks Commission as well. I've been with the city for almost 2 years now. It'll be 2 years in October. I don't live in Monona. I'm a Madison resident. I also have a 2-year-old. Looking forward to working with you, Jamie. If you ever have any questions or things that you want to explore adding to the agenda, or just things that you want to discuss broadly, just encourage you to send them over to me, and then Teresa and Rick and I can work together and get that info out to the committee at large and figure out how to get that on the agenda if there's room for it.
Great.
And you work half-time, right?
Yeah, my role is about 63% position. So that is one of the challenges is staff time for sustainability initiatives is limited. So you'll notice this committee does rely a lot on volunteer work and work from the committee members because of that challenge. Thanks, Rick.
I'll start the remote group. I'm Teresa Rademacher. As Alder Bernstein said, I'm the alder assigned to the Sustainability Committee. Relatively new, just started my 2nd term on council. And I live on McKenna Road, not too far from where you are right now, but my dog walk took me in the other direction, so I hurriedly rushed home to hop on the meeting. Sustainability is one of my favorite committees. It's very important, and I really appreciate all the passion that these members bring to this work. All right, who would like to go next? Ashley, maybe I see in the room.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Teresa. Hi, I'm Ashley. Sorry I can't be there in person today. Like Teresa, I had a very, very full day today. I also work fully remotely. I work for Northern Arizona University's Institute for Tribal Environmental Professionals. And so my work mostly supports climate change adaptation planning for tribes around the US and a little bit internationally as well. I also just have been on the committee for I think maybe a year and a half, maybe not much shorter than Thor. And I just started on the Landmarks Commission as well this past month. So happy to have another member, and if you ever want to co-work, just email me.
Thanks, Ash.
Pardon me, everyone. I have a pretty awful cough. That's probably another good reason why I stay at home. So excuse me. Thank you, Ashley. Now, if there's one more person I see, is that Ken?
That's probably my phone number you're looking at,
Hey,
Teresa.
Ken.
Yeah, this is Ken. Yeah, my camera is not on right now because I'm actually driving at the moment. I'm on my way home from work, so I'm joining you folks virtually. At some point, I'll pull into my driveway and be able to switch over to laptops. So, my name's Ken Walls, resident of Monona, obviously. I've got two daughters. 6-year-old who attends Winnequa School, and then much like Thor, I've got a 2-year-old as well, soon to be 3 in September, and just started my second term on the sustainability committee. So happy to be doing another tour of duty with all you folks.
Is there anyone else that's joining us? I don't know if we have anyone else.
That's it.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. Ken, I really appreciate how you always show up. You always make it happen. That's just wonderful. Okay, so getting back to the agenda, start with some unfinished.
Well, I could say like you, Teresa, this is the most important committee I serve on, but it's the only committee I serve on for the village, so it probably isn't quite as meaningful.
Now, I didn't mean to slight any of the other committees that are, don't mean to say that, right? Yeah. So for those who might be new to this whole thing, so Jamie, I don't know if you've served on other committees or how familiar you are with the local government, but each alder is assigned to more or less about 4 committees. Yeah. Okay. So thanks for the introductions, everyone. Let's get moving on then to unfinished business. Just an update on our 2024 No Mow Make / Slow More Summer pollinator habitat. Jamie, in a nutshell, we're just sort of trying to move beyond No Mow May. No Mow May started out, a few years ago, and at the time, everybody just jumped on it. And since then, we've all sort of reevaluated and taken a different look at maybe how we could approach it in different ways and really make the focus more about pollinators. Thor will probably, we'll have Thor share with you, there's a document that we have out on a Google Drive, which we don't have to review at this point. He can email that to you later, but it just sort of, keeps track of some of the activities that we've done and plan to do when it comes to this and all of our project work. So just to get some of the highlights since our last meeting, one of the big things that happened with this year's work on pollinators was that we did a lot of work to rewrite an ordinance related to natural lawns, which we'll talk about in a moment as a separate agenda item. I know that since we last met, Kristen had done some PSAs on WVMO. We had some Facebook posts, we had some newsletter articles. Thank you to Tim and to Thor for getting those out and about. We have thought about this, but it just didn't happen this year. But I just want to put this out there and keep it fresh in our minds. The city of Madison has an Adopt a Median program where they plant wildflowers in the medians of streets. I just want to keep that in sort of like our parking lot. So when we're thinking about maybe how we can push pollinator habitat in the city of Monona, we talked about, we spoke with parks to ask if they could identify a corner of grass that they just might let go, but that really wasn't a popular, idea for them. But that conversation turned into another idea that we'll talk about tonight about planting trees. We talked about, should we keep printing those No Mow May yard signs? And the decision was, let's not do that. We have a couple more if people want them. But what we thought about and what we talked about last time is once the ordinance passes through council, we might want to sort of capitalize on that momentum and maybe have a little sign that people could have in their yard instead. I think those are kind of the highlights of our pollinator awareness campaign for 2024. Of course, though, I can't forget all the work that Tim and the Bee and Butterfly Brigade does, which really feeds beautifully into this new pollinator garden at the library. We've got an upcoming tour at your house, I believe, Tim. And would you mind saying a word or two about the tours that the BBB does? In case.
Yeah, so just to kind of bring you up to speed, last year we sent out some emails through some of the city newsletters and essentially got kind of listserv of 45, 50 people who were interested. So we have had a series of garden tours. There was 3 or 4 last year, and we've had 2, as she mentioned, pollinator gardens planted at the library through volunteer efforts. And then I'll be hosting a garden tour at my house. So the idea is just to kind of share knowledge as to how to transform your own yard into a more pollinator friendly space. So July 24th.
What time?
5:30. You're welcome to join.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering about like long-term, if there's any interest in kind of catering some of that to kids or.
Yeah, I mean, that's one kind of thought I had about how this might evolve. We have a Facebook page, which one of the members spearheaded and led. So there's a kind of another venue that people communicate through. But it has not taken that shape yet, and I would be thrilled if you want to get engaged and offer some thoughts about how we might do that. But yeah, t-shirts that kids would wear to spread the word and get them interested and engaged, would be great if there was enthusiasm and funding, all those kind of things.
Activities, bring a naturalist out.
Yeah. Happy to chat more maybe offline.
Cool.
And the listserv, is that BBB that does that?
We've just been keeping kind of a Google spreadsheet that I think Thor started, and I've shared with a few people.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or that's on the city. So
Yeah, it goes to the Sustainable Monona Gmail account, and when I get a new response, I fill out this spreadsheet for Tim.
okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Jamie, one of the things that Ashley, who's in the room, one of the things that she did was she created, I don't know, you can't really see it, but she created this beautiful bookmark last year. And we've had these at the library, and they talk all about making small steps, rethinking your lawn, reducing pesticides and herbicides, starting a garden. Joining No Mow May talks about how 1 in 3 bites of food, up to 1 in 3 bites, pollinated by bees and other pollinators. So kind of cool. Her artwork is gorgeous. And one other thing, Ashley, I'm just wondering, I know you've been traveling a lot for business lately. Do you think you might still be interested in helping to update the website? I don't mean to push, but if that's of interest to you.
Yeah, it's been on my
Yeah.
brain. I actually have, I shouldn't say this out loud, but I have tomorrow off. So I planned on
Never
dedicating
say that
a little
out
bit of time tomorrow to
Do
get
not
some of
say
these
that out loud. Yeah.
backlog of things done. So fingers crossed. If it doesn't happen tomorrow, I might have to say no because I don't see
No worries.
a big birth of time anywhere soon. But yeah.
No worries. So for anyone that you may already have seen that the city website was recently sort of restylized, updated. mymonona.com has a kind of a fresher look. And when you go out to the Sustainable Monona page, Thor has arranged for front and center. We talk about the pollinator, habitat feature program. We also have a page just for No Mow May, and that's what I'm talking about. Just sort of like moving that from No Mow May to more of a pollinator theme. But yeah. And Ashley, you can say no. Like you don't have to feel like you got to take this on. You don't. So just,
I already said yes, so
well, I
I'm
know how
I'm
that
gonna
goes.
make it happen.
And volunteer work is not the priority in our lives. So you've got family and other things. Yeah. Well, thank you though. I really appreciate
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Feel free
Thank
to
you.
like make it beautiful with the graphics that you so know how to put together. Yeah. All right. Great. So something else about Pollinator is that Thor actually did order some more permanent signs for the garden over at the library. Are those already in the ground?
Those are still in the shop. Yeah, they were ordered 3 weeks ago or so, and they're not ready yet. But
Okay.
Instaprint usually has about a 3 to 4 week turnaround, so I would expect them really soon.
Sure. That sounds great. And then,
I'll let
Thor, do you
Tim
want to take
know.
the next? Oh, was there something else?
I'll let Tim know as soon as they're ready. And
Okay,
get
great.
to the ground.
I did sort of try to I tried to fix up the sign that was there, took it home and made it a little more sturdy and put it back in the ground, but the sign that you've ordered is going to be far superior. Thor, do you want to take it from here, talking about the ordinance?
Yeah, so I'm still finalizing the last details with the city attorney. And the plan right now is to have that on the city council agenda for the first meeting in August, August 5th. So I apologize for the delay there, but that's the current plan. So I believe it'll require 2 reads at council. And then, so August 5th and then August 19th for council meetings, and then it should be
15th and 29th.
right. Okay, yeah. Mhm. And sorry, I said 5th. Yeah,
You said 19th.
okay, well. The 2 council meetings in August.
Okay.
And we'll.
Okay. Great.
Yeah,
So yeah, so August would be what, the 12th and the 26th? Or the 1st and 3rd, is it not? 5th and 19th?
yeah, 1st and 3rd.
Yeah, 5th and 19th. Okay, great. Jamie, just so you know, this was related to the old ordinance we had on the books about natural lawns, and we just sort of revamped those a little bit to remove some of the barriers. And I don't know if it's just because I'm looking for it more than I used to, but when I walk around the city of Monona, I am seeing a lot more natural looking lawns, tall flowers, taller grasses. Maybe it's just like, you know, when you buy a blue car, you see a bunch of blue cars that look just like I don't know. But I think people are really ready for this and already doing it and embracing it. And we just try to lower the barriers and let them do it. All right, next.
Sorry, could I ask one question?
Yes.
I'm sure this has been thought of, but just kind of thinking about the risks associated with that, or like, is there guidance developed on how to do that well, and like the types of plants to plant instead of just like letting crabgrass grow really tall, that kind of thing?
Absolutely.
All a part of it.
Great question. One of our challenges was in the very meaning of the phrase natural lawn. It doesn't just mean that you let it go wild and unkempt and, you know, unmanaged. It's actually, there was a phrase that we lifted from another community, a planned natural landscape, I think was, unless Thor tell me if that's incorrect or not.
Yeah.
And it just, we really wanted to make sure that the ordinance made that very clear that this was not about neglect. That was a real concern. And we also cannot allow sight lines to be blocked. If a person wanted to plant right up to the curb, they would not be able to block someone's vision when they're a driver's vision. Yeah. So, does that answer your question?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Great.
If I may, I think it's an insightful question, and I guess I would ask, how far along is the language and how specific is the language on that? I say it in part because the city of Madison just went through all this. I'm a member of Wild Ones, and they just had a local campaign to try to alter the city of Madison's language about this very thing. because the city of Madison was trying to do the same thing.
Mhm.
And they restricted it to like 16 species. It was very, very constraining.
Yeah,
So Wild Ones, lobbied them to try to lift some of those restraints to lower the barrier. But to your point, if you lower it too much, what's the difference between neglect and something thoughtful? Do we have that language to look at again tonight, or where has it already been submitted? Is it, past a point of revision?
so we approved at the last meeting with one change to work with the attorney to kind of add some language about invasive species that may still be native or naturalized, like some language about not letting those grow uncontrolled. So that's where we're at right now, is just working on those last language tweaks.
Yeah, okay, so it's pretty far along and
Yeah,
thoughtfully crafted.
Right.
So,
yeah,
That's a good point you bring up, Tim. Thor and I met with, but not Rick, met with Brad, and so we met with the director of public works and a few others at the city, and we asked them if they had any concerns with the language, and that meeting, from that meeting came the language that we have now. So it's good to know that we've already passed, we've got their blessing on it. Yeah.
Madison's, I believe they have the 16 species. You're allowed to plant those. If you plant anything else, then you need the permit or the management plan. We explored that path at one point and we decided it was too much work. Too many staff resources would have to go into managing that, so. All right.
Yeah, there really is, yeah. Okay. So let's move on then to 6B, discussion on possible action on a residential tree buying program. This was introduced last time. Would let everyone know that Thor and I believe Rick, am I not mistaken? We met with director of our Parks and Recreation program and one of our leaders at Department of Public Works. We talked all about the ways that the way the city plants trees and how we can maybe work together with the sustainability committee to encourage residents to plant trees. Long story short, I think there are some decisions to be made about what kind of incentives we can offer residents, specifically in the way of, subsidies. I mean, is that even possible, right? The expectation is that the Parks Department could offer sort of a discount to residents because Parks buys in bulk, and residents could take advantage of that discount. Also, residents would be reassured of the quality and size of the trees and, coming from a really reputable nursery. Sustainability committee would be in charge of marketing and education and promoting and just sort of beefing up our resources on the website to make it clear of all the benefits of increasing our urban canopy, all the way from, visual beauty to increasing property values and all sorts of resiliency matters. So timeline roughly is, in a perfect world, right now, we would already be having conversations with residents, looking at locations possibly, and then in September, in the month of August, someone from Parks might even come out and do a site evaluation, pick out the kind of tree that the resident might like. And then in September, Parks would order the trees, delivered in spring of 2025 and planted in the springtime. We're not there yet. This is all sort of in the idea phase, in the what's possible phase. There's still a lot of decisions to be made. And I think the best way to move forward is probably just to gauge interest among the folks here tonight and to see if anyone would be interested in becoming part of a work group that would meet between meetings with Thor and myself and with Rick and whomever, and just hammer out the details of what this program could entail and what it would look like, rather than taking up monthly committee time. Thor, is there anything else you'd like to add that I might have overlooked?
No, I think that's a good summary. Thank you.
Okay. So again, we're just looking for, if this committee believes that's the next best step, we would be looking for a subgroup or a work group. What are the thoughts on the table and in the remote room also?
I would be enthusiastic about moving this forward and participating in a subgroup.
Great.
I was talking to Ken actually about my love for trees. I don't wanna box him out if he's jonesing to also play a role in this kind of project.
Ken has expressed some love for trees in the past. I know with forests at the schools. I know we've brought that up. So
Hey guys, I have to apologize. I lost the signal there for a little bit while I was driving and just got reconnected. But I understand you're talking about trees. I think you've got my vote of support on any initiative the committee wants to undertake there. I've undertaken my own little microforest at home, so happy to do more of that.
Ken, would you be interested in joining Tim on this work group?
Yeah, certainly, for sure.
Wonderful. All we need are 2 people, really. That's fine. 2 people, me and Thor, connect you to some city resources, make some decisions. Yeah, be great.
All
What
right.
do the other committee members think? Or does that sound good to others?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Sweet. All right. I don't know that we necessarily need to take a vote on anything. I'll just put down Tim and Ken for the work group. Thank you very much, gentlemen. That's wonderful. And then we'll
Teresa,
have I'm sorry,
the
what was that?
the only thing I think we have to keep in mind is the timeline.
Yeah,
And we need
I
to
know.
get something to parks by September.
Correct.
Okay. So that's not a lot of time, but enough time, I think, if we're diligent about it.
Yeah, we did talk last time about just starting with a very small pilot program.
What about just spitballing here? Emailing 45 interested citizens who have demonstrated enough interest in green activities of the Bee and Butterfly Brigade, and see if we can identify 5 people who want a tree or to volunteer their yard for a site analysis as a possible pilot project. Is that where we're at? Or we're trying to
I think
find...
I think that's a decision that would come out of the work group. One of the barriers that we need to figure out is whether we are able to subsidize this. So, and if the answer is no, then what, so this, yeah.
And if there's a subsidy, does that need to be open to equally to everyone, every resident, right? And not just the ones who have expressed previous interest.
Yeah, how do we select? What's the criteria? Is there an environmental justice component to it? Yeah.
One thing I might point to is if you look at the tree canopy study that CARPC did, they have the information by census block. And they feel that there is kind of an equity component to where trees should be planted. And so I think that would point more towards certain sectors of Monona, if we wanted to kind of factor that in as well.
Outstanding, thank you. CARP dash letter C?
CARPC, Capital Area Regional Planning Commission.
The urban heat island effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so there are distinct areas, mostly in the southern part of the city, where that would probably be most prominent.
Thank you so much for bringing that up again. When I looked at the website, I recognized it. I've been here before, yeah.
I'll share that resource with everyone.
Thank you. All right, wonderful. Okay, so then Tim, Ken, Thor, and I, and if Rick wants to join us too, we can get together sometime in the next couple of weeks and maybe hammer out some some parameters. Okay. Let's go on then to number 6C, update on the Soul Smart designation. Thor, you want to take that?
Yeah, so I've included the presentation from last month in the packet again. Just as a reminder, we did make a motion to move forward with a recommendation to council that we pursue Soul Smart designation. That again will be on the agenda for the August 5th city council meeting. I've been just reaching out to other communities right now who have Soul Smart designation to see the process they went through to kick that off, and working with our contact at Dane County. So, you know, other communities have just run it past their sustainability committee and then move forward from there. Other communities also got approval from the village board or city council. Conversations with the administrator, we'd prefer that council adopts a resolution of some kind and approves a letter of support, which is the first step towards pursuing Soul Smart designation. So that'll be moving forward in the next month. And then we'll get I guess in touch with Soul Smart, and they'll set up some meetings with us with their technical reps, and we'll start the process of exploring, you know, what designation level we want to achieve and identifying the best path forward to achieve that. So you know, it's going to be a very collaborative effort between us and Soul Smart and the Plan Commission, likely, because there will be, you know, potential zoning changes that we need to explore, and I think a really good initiative to help us achieve our sustainable energy goals.
I agree. And I want to thank Ken for bringing this to our attention, for bringing this opportunity up. It's a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. So, Thor, did I understand you correctly that the August 5th council meeting, at that meeting, you're hoping the council would approve a resolution and also approve a letter of support, or would the resolution instruct the next step? Would it be a letter of support?
Yeah, I need to work out those details with
Sure.
Neil.
Sounds
But
good.
something along those lines, that we'll just have staff draft the letter of support that goes to Soul Smart. We have sustainability's recommendation. That's what we need for the resolution. Council approve the resolution.
So at the last meeting, we did already approve this.
Right,
We don't have to vote on it tonight. Yeah,
right,
it's
yeah,
just an update.
just
Okay,
update.
update on the committees that you've talked, the communities that you've talked about and everything. Okay, great. All right, sweet. Thank you for that. Let's go on then to an update also from Thor about well, actually from Rick, 6D, recycling awareness. Alder Bernstein had expressed some interest in maybe doing a little awareness campaign about recycling, because we had this year, the city signed a new contract for our waste hauler with Pelletieri. And that opened up a lot of opportunities, different materials that could be recycled. Pelletieri has a lot of recycling information on their website that people might not be aware of. And Alder Bernstein, did you want to just say a few things about what you might need to make that happen? Or are you looking for a helper, or
Well, I mean, you and I and Thor talked a few days ago about trying to make sure that we get something into the monthly city newsletter.
Mhm.
And so I wrote something up that I sent to Thor along with some graphics. He looked at it, made a comment, and then I forwarded that to
Anita,
I haven't heard back from her, but I think we got something in time for the
Oh, that's
7th.
fantastic.
So the idea there is just to make sure we can put in a 100-word article on a monthly basis. And it's not hard to come up with a tip a month, you know, here's something you might not know can be recycled, or here's something you shouldn't
Absolutely.
So that should be simple enough, and I think we're go on that.
So you don't, so am I hearing that you do not need any assistance? Or,
I don't know.
Either-
We'll see if this goes through as I
Okay.
hope it will. Last time, I'm not quite sure what you're thinking, but yeah, I submitted something, and if we need some additional graphics help, I think Thor said he might be willing to work with Canva.
Yep.
So I think we've got that covered for now.
Yeah.
Now, on the other front, I have started to do PSAs. I did one for WVMO on recycling metal. I think I can continue to do those. They take a little bit more time in writing a script and then going to VMO and recording it. But if other people are interested in joining in on something like that, and you get famous on VMO, this is your opportunity to become a famous figure here in the community. So that's where I'm at. If people want to join in, please let me know and we can work on it together. The other thing we talked about is Kristen brought up the fact that McFarland and other communities are collecting plastic film. And that's a form of plastic like bags. It's a certain depth. And it's difficult to recycle. It's not something you can recycle and street side pickup. But if you look at Metro Market, they have these big plastic containers in their lobby. And that's similar to what this one company has, it's called Nextrack. And they take recycled plastic and turn it into benches and other outdoor equipment. And if you raise $1,000 pounds of this film within a year, you get a bench. Kristen and I were pretty excited about that. And so I'm still in the feasibility study part. We talked about approaching the Lions and Lionesses, which has a sizable presence here in Monona. I emailed them from their website, but never heard back. But I'm gonna continue to see if I can find a lion or lioness. Other Lions groups have done this in Verona. And it does fit their environmental platform. I guess they have different things that they do for service. And environmental is a category that some clubs subscribe to and some don't. But if we can get them to be the one to pick up this material on a weekly or bi-weekly basis and deliver it to a central location, have it weighed, I think we're all systems go. But we also need to find locations where these plastic boxes can sit. So I've been looking at where that might work. I went to Quick Trip and there might be possibilities there. I looked at other big box stores where a lot of plastic is probably given to customers, or it's a likely location they'll go and bring their plastic film with them to be recycled. So there's some possibilities, but that's still in the planning phase. So that's all I have to report on that. See,
Okay.
I was also gonna mention, we talked last time about going to Pelletieri to tour the facility. It's kind of a catch-22. They want to know how many are going before they can confirm a date. People here probably want a date before they can figure out if they can commit. But what I think might be best, I'll propose this, is that if the week of the 22nd looks good, if there's interest, if there's not, fine, I'll just go on my own, that's fine. Don't feel pressured to go. I hear it can be very exciting. I think you said you work days, so this wouldn't work for you. So I guess I'm looking at you. It has to be either 8 o'clock, 10 a.m. or 3 p.m. And if those dates those times don't work for you, that's fine too. I think Thor, you've been there, Teresa's
No,
been
I
there.
haven't, but I'm interested.
You're interested,
Yes, yeah.
okay,
I could sneak in a morning, like an 8 a.m. one probably.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, the week of the 22nd,
Mhm.
okay.
Rick,
That
I
is
have
you,
a que-
Ashley.
Rick,
Ashley,
I
are
have a
you?
question. How many people is Pelletari's ideal size for a tour group?
It has to be a maximum of 2 cars, so we'd have to go together as a group if we have more than
That's all
3.
the larger they will accommodate?
Or a small bus, but they will take 4 people, but we'd have to,
4 people is the most they will take at one time.
correct.
They don't do like school groups, school children's field trips.
Based on what I saw from their reservation form, that is correct.
The reason I'm asking is because years ago when my daughter was in elementary school, I just picked a no school day and I just blasted it out through the PTO. Like any families want to come, and we got like a couple minivans filled with kids and they all went to advanced disposal back when that was our waste hauler. I mean, I just wonder if you're struggling to get together a group of people.
No,
You
no,
could always
I'm struggling,
choose, I mean,
I'm
in the
struggling
summer.
to get a date that works for
Yeah.
whatever group it is.
Yeah.
So it's more of a scheduling issue than it is a capacity issue.
Okay,
I don't think we have more than 4 people that would be interested in this one.
okay.
We have Thor, myself and Jamie. And Ashley, I don't think you expressed interest last time, or maybe you did?
Yeah, I did. It just, for me, it more depends on the day.
Okay.
Also could possibly do an 8 a.m.
Okay.
But that week, I would not want you to schedule it around me, but that week I'd only do Monday or Wednesday. So if it falls on one of those days, I might be
Monday or
able to join, but
Wednesday? Okay,
Yep.
Monday or Wednesday, you say?
yep. But if
Okay.
it works out to do Tuesday, then just go ahead and do that.
Okay, I will look at Monday or Wednesday on the week of the 22nd.
And do you know how long it is?
An hour,
An hour, perfect.
yeah. But what we could do is just meet at the lot at Goodwill and then carpool over or something like that. Cause they don't want more than 2 cars in their lot. It's
Oh,
not a
wow.
very big parking area.
Okay,
But I will submit a form for Monday, and if that doesn't work, Wednesday. If that doesn't work, Tuesday or something like that. Go down the list.
Sounds good.
What are your days that you work?
Well, I work every day, but I'm in
Oh,
the
you do?
office just twice a week, yeah.
Oh, you're in the office, so you
Tuesday,
can come in.
Wednesday in the office,
Okay, but any day is okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
I can be flexible.
all right.
okay. In the interest of time, we have put
Of course.
little goals on the agenda of how much we want to keep the meeting moving. So sorry to be, I hope I'm not rude. I just want to make sure we get through this. So, Rick, do you have what you need to take this and organize after the meeting with the folks that,
I believe I do.
okay, awesome.
Thank you.
So then Thor, update on the electronics recycling event that was held a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it was June 29th. It was a really great success. We had 212 vehicles pass through in the 4 hours, so almost 1 car per minute. It was a pretty steady stream, the whole 4 hours. I think up about 50% from last year. They said we collected about 10,000 pounds of waste, which is up from 6,000 each of the last 2 years. 2021, the first year we had the event, we collected 17,000.
That was a good,
All those stats are included in the packet for you to review. They break it down further by type of material collected. So, yeah, we were concerned that maybe we'd see another further decrease in that trend, but we had a good bounce back year. So, we don't have to discuss tonight, but we can if we want to hold another one next year. I can start reaching out to Resource Solutions to schedule another find a date, I should say.
I would support that. This year, Earth Day was already taken, and even though we planned a couple months in advance, so let's just, I would support you reaching out and getting something on the calendar for 2025.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, at least pick a date, we're not committing any funds until we get the contract way down the line, so.
Just
is
do
Earth
the
Day?
Saturday morning closest to Earth Day, whatever works.
Yeah. And I did reach out to Pelletary as well to see if they host these types of events, just to do our due diligence, and they do, but they charge the city per pound that they collect about
Oh,
35 cents, so they don't charge any fees to the residents who come to drop materials off, like we have to with Resource Solutions. But at that price, 35 cents a pound, if we're looking at $3,000 to $5,000 probably,
Yeah,
just based on what we collect.
Wow,
interesting.
and this one cost us $300.
$350 for this one, but residents are paying for dropping off TVs and
Oh,
anything with Freon. Yeah,
It was-
The numbers move going up again. That's a good sign.
Yeah.
That people understand like the cost value of that kind of thing.
Mhm.
I feel like people are used to paying for that anyway.
yeah, it was, we advertise that there's fees for lots of items and people accept that. You know, they want to do the responsible thing and still pay to recycle it properly.
It's great.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, I'll reach out to
Great.
Resource Solutions and we'll find a time.
great.
Um,
Thank
Is
you
there
for,
hope to shift it back to a Huska Park instead of MG21, just to rebalance?
know.
What
what are your thoughts? I don't know.
I don't know, yeah, MG21 is central and it works it's been working well the last 2 years. There's not a lot of shade out there for the poor workers who are hauling the heavy materials.
Do you think we would bring in more people from other communities if we took it to a Huska? Or, I mean, people are gonna drive a few blocks on Monona Drive, right? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, we could try, I don't know.
I have no preference.
Alright.
Okay,
I see Earth Day is April 22nd, Tuesday.
yeah,
Should you schedule it the Saturday before with a rain date the next Saturday?
that would be
That
my
work?
preference, yeah.
Yeah, I can try to do that.
Okay,
I don't know if they do rain dates at Resource Solutions, I think it's a rain or shine event,
is it?
yeah.
Okay,
But yeah, the Saturday before is ideal. And
We could look
I bet it's already taken too.
Yeah, they're in a
So,
different community every Saturday
right,
from
okay.
spring through summer.
got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, great. Let's move on to new business. And I'm gonna turn this one over to Ken. Update on Civic Campus / Public Safety Building. And the only reason I put this on the agenda was because recently the city council voted on, as you can see in the meeting packet, there's a resolution, and all that is really happening, and I don't want to like get everyone's hopes up or, overpromise. Basically, the folks that are putting together some potential plans have been working hard to create 2 plans. And they just asked city council, decide on one plan. And so we'll just focus our energy on one. We don't even know if a new building is ever going to be built, but we just have to move forward. And maybe this is where Ken can come in and explain the work that he's been doing on that committee. And just if you could explain to us a little bit about the work that you've done and the ideas you have about renewables on this building, if it ever happens. So, go ahead.
Yeah,
Ken.
sure. I'll give you, how much time do we have allotted for this bullet?
What are we giving you? 5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. So, I think most of the folks on the committee are aware that our Public Works building, or I should say our City Hall building, our municipal building, our police station and fire station is quite old. And really is not up to sort of like modern, contemporary standards for that type of a shared use facility. So it's, it's a prime candidate for renovation or replacement, one or the other. And the city, looked at options of, building on new greenfield sites. And we discarded that in favor of hanging on to the existing property, the existing building, and doing a large scale renovation that will add a lot of square footage and then update all of those facilities for the 21st century, basically. Sort of where the status is with the project right now, as Teresa alluded to, we earlier interviewed a number of architects, and Bray Associates was the selected architect for the project. Bray came back with sort of two different conceptual designs. One that would have preserved the existing well and some of the other legacy facilities that are there. And then another that would, do away with the well and the reservoir and be a larger scale site redesign, which allows us to make, much more efficient use of the space, really control traffic flow on the site in a much, more intelligent and logical flow, better use of the parking area. Of course, it's going to cost more money. But so that was what went forward to the city council, the two designs that Teresa was speaking about. The committee all felt that, if we're going to do this project now, we should do the project the right way. And, rather than, sort of do it halfway and then, come back in 5-10 years later and address the well and the reservoir down the road and end up redoing the parking lots anyways. If we're going to do a big construction project, do it once, do it right, make it good, was the logic. Now, that said, as Teresa also said, there's no guarantee that this is going to happen, right? Because right now there's no money budgeted for this yet. So in order for this project to occur, there's going to have to be a referendum. The public's going to have to vote on it. It's going to have to be approved and all of that kind of good stuff. As we're kind of moving along, the other thing the committee is working on right now is, in addition to the architect that's working on the conceptual designs, we've started getting information from potential construction management firms that might be able to serve as construction managers on the project. So we issued a request for some information. We got responses from, I think it was 10 or 11 different construction management firms, and the committee's still kind of looking at those responses that we got, and then we'll see where things go from there. Obviously, there's I think a strong desire on the part of not just the committee, but the staff at the city and from community members that I've spoken to, is make sure this is a sustainable building, so that we don't saddle future taxpayers with a lot of operational costs, right? So trying to control both the utility expenditures for heating and cooling, and also sort of future-proofing the building, knowing that in the future it's highly likely that we'll have electric squad cars at some point as part of our police fleet, right? And being able to provide charging capacity for those vehicles and things like that. So those are all things that will ultimately be taken into the design of the building by our architects. I think most of you are familiar. It's a very challenging site, right? It's built on a pretty steep grade. So we're going to be dealing with a 3-story structure that's kind of staggered between the levels to, work with the site itself. We are constrained on, basically all sides by a parking lot and by roads. So we don't have unlimited area that we can just expand and build out into. And that means, the idea of putting a ground mounted solar array on the site is pretty much a deal killer, right? The idea of putting geothermal on the site, that's going to require a feasibility study to look and see if that's even really possible with the site as it is. But there will be a roof, and you can definitely put PV on a roof. That's the easiest sort of, if you want to generate energy on site, the easiest thing to do. Yeah. And of course, you can build a very highly energy efficient building as well. Right. And spend money on technology that'll help you control future operational costs. So those are the kinds of things that, as we get a little bit further along in the process, and assuming that the public actually does approve funding at some point, that the architects are going to have to drill down a little bit further on those elements of the design, and the committee will want to, look at that. And if we have a construction manager selected for the job, they'll help us with those determinations as well as being sort of the advocate for the city. And Ford's also involved in this process a little bit, so I should invite him to comment and see if I missed anything or misspoke at all.
Thor, did you want to say anything?
No, really not involved in the process.
Oh,
So,
okay.
I'll defer to you, Ken.
Okay.
Yeah. I was really proud of the city when they wrote the RFP. They came right out and said, we're looking for someone to, design us a building that generates as much energy as it consumes. And I read those words and I thought, that's a net zero building. Like, holy smokes, like we're aiming for the stars here, and I can't blame them. That's wonderful. We know that we're not going to land on the stars, but it was wonderful to really aim high. And so the mayor wanted someone on the committee to speak to that, and Ken was brought in. And I really appreciate you being on that committee, Ken. Can you, I know we're probably going to go over the 5 minutes, but can you speak to this concept, like using McFarland? There's a lot of citizens that'll say, McFarland just built a net zero building. Why aren't we building a net zero building? Like, come on, Monona. And they
Well,
might get
they
upset
did.
about that.
Yeah, so it is true that they did. But realize they had two things going for them. One, they had a greenfield site, so they're building on a
Yep.
fresh farm field, right? So
Yeah.
they've got all their acreage at their disposal. And it's a brand new building, so
Yep.
you're not starting with a legacy structure, with elements from 75 years ago that you have to incorporate into your renovation. So it's much easier to do a net zero building if you're starting with a blank slate, right? But the other thing that I think is important for the committee to weigh, and I don't really know where our decision will end up here, is it's good to have a goal of creating a net zero building, but that might not be the most financially prudent thing for the city to do, right? I mean, we really have to consider the city operates a portfolio of buildings. Do you want to spend all your money on one, making it a platinum level showcase? Or is it okay, instead of purchasing the stars, purchase 90% of them
Mhm.
and save that extra money for the really hard to reach fruit and spend that on some of the other old legacy buildings that the city
Right.
has that maybe need a new boiler or something like that,
Right.
right? So it starts to become a question of allocation of resources because we don't have an unlimited budget.
Yep.
And some of that'll no doubt be part of the referendum if and when
You
that
bet.
goes to the voters, right? Is explaining how much it's going to cost and what benefit that's going to have. And I don't know how the referendum will be posed, but you could imagine that there's choices with here's the sticker price for a net zero building, here's the sticker price for a 85 or 95% energy footprint building. And maybe that's a decision the voters make. Maybe it's a decision the committee makes a recommendation. I don't really know. It's going to kind of depend, once we get some more financial estimate data
Right.
from the architects.
Until you've been working on this committee for some time, but I don't think that there was ever, I think that now is really the time for you to start talking about this, because we've got an architectural drawing, right? Before it was just sort of all concept. We've got, and I wanted you to say a few words to the committee in this forum, because these meetings are recorded. And I know that a lot of people out there in the community watch the meetings. And I think this provides a good opportunity to speak to this aspect of the building for those out there in the community who really want net zero buildings, and for them to understand that it is something that is being considered, but there are, a lot of factors to weigh.
Well, the other thing to think about is, a net zero energy is a good goal to have, but it's certainly not the primary goal for this facility, right? The facility, first and foremost, has to be functional for the people that work and occupy that building. And those are emergency first responders, right?
Yep.
So if you build a really tight building that's super energy efficient, but it doesn't properly ventilate when people come back from a fire and have smoky clothes, then the building isn't functional. So there are, more important considerations that have to be addressed first and foremost to make sure that the building works for its intended purpose. And then you can try and make it as energy efficient as possible, right?
You bet.
That isn't something that always crosses people's mind, but you know, we're dealing with a building from 75 years ago that doesn't even really have appropriate locker rooms and bathroom facilities for you know, mixed gender police and fire squads. So you know, there's a lot of sort of legacy stuff there that needs to just be brought into the 21st century first, and then we'll see how far the budget actually gets us, right?
Couldn't agree more. Thank you. I really appreciate you so eloquently explaining that subject. Thank you. Were there any questions from the room for Ken?
I had a quick one. Ken, when it came to the parking lot, did they consider permeable surfaces or?
We haven't gotten that far yet. The only real discussion on the parking lot has been like, what's going to be the shape of the parking lot?
Yeah.
How many cars will it accommodate? And is it possible to connect the sort of upper parking lot with the lower parking lot? And you know, I think the main consideration with the parking lot right now is getting a pull-through garage for the larger fire department vehicles, so that they, you know, don't have to be backing these large vehicles in off the street and stuff like that. So we're really still sort of at the just functionality of the site design, not really at materials selection or anything like that.
Okay.
But you know, I think it is something that people are certainly interested in, is, you know, what is the permeability of the surface, and also, since there's such a grade, just how do you manage stormwater on that site, because it is a really steep grade, right?
Right, exactly.
And that'll also, well, may also create challenges for snow removal in the winter as well. You know, it's much easier to push snow downhill than it is to push it up, right? You know, so.
I think so. You might be right there.
Were there
Thank
any
you.
other questions? I see we got a hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, and maybe you're already well aware, there are Inflation Reduction Act tax incentives that we can think about and take advantage of for the public safety building. Like clean energy eligible projects. I know McFarland took advantage of that for theirs was like a $22 million building, and then they got like $1 million back. But that, and potentially retrofit incentives as well, so something we could maybe look into.
Yeah, and the architects working on the project Bray are familiar with those incentives, and you know, part of their proposal, they indicated that they'd be able to help the city apply for those and work through that process. And
That's great.
I know that that's something that Brad and Thor, I think, have already talked about and looked into that a little bit, and been on some meetings with the county to learn just a little bit more about some of those incentives under the Inflation Reduction Act and bipartisan infrastructure law. So, you know, those are all things that, depending on the ultimate design of the building, we might qualify for and be able to take advantage of, for sure. Yeah.
And Jamie, you're just your first time tonight with this group, and Ken, because he was joining us with his phone, and also just because he's a very humble person, he would not have said that. What I will say about Ken Walls is that he's sort of a rock star in the renewable energy world of the Madison area. He kind of is, I'll say it. And if you ever go over to Madison College, and without Ken Walls, all those solar panels would have happened on that roof. And I would dare say same thing about the high school solar project. So it's Ken is very familiar with that Inflation Reduction Act, and we're so happy to have him in Monona. And I know you're going to love getting to know him and all the other members of the committee.
Amazing. That's great to know.
Yeah, was there any other questions for Ken about the work that he's been doing on that committee? And again, I'm not trying to give anyone in the room or watching the video any impression that this has been decided, that the city's going to move forward with the new building. It's just that in order to take this decision to a referendum, we have to show voters something, what they're voting on, and we have to know what the cost will be in order to know what to ask for. And so there just have been some decisions that needed to be made, and Ken's been involved in those. Any else? No? Okay. Well, thank you. It was wonderful to hear some of your perspective on that, Ken. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, stay tuned. I'll be happy to bring more updates back to the
Yeah.
committee as things continue. So.
Super exciting. Yeah, super exciting. The last thing on the agenda, I just wanted to, well, let's get back to the agenda here. Zoom in. I just wanted to maybe just take a 20-minute, I don't know, we've kind of got it the biggest thing on the agenda, but some strategic planning, looking ahead, when we think about like the planning year and the sustainability committee, a lot of times we have some project-based work that we do, but is there something larger that we could also be doing is always the question. I think this Soul Smart could maybe provide some of those bigger opportunities for us as we move through the consulting phase with you know those folks. And you know, the tree planting program could be kind of cool to see whatever happens there. Otherwise, Jamie, we've got, as you already have heard about, you know, sort of like these seasonal projects like pollinator awareness in the springtime. We've got leaf and stormwater management awareness in the autumn, you know, phosphorus in the lakes and things like that. In the winter, we try to raise people's awareness about oversalting and how that can damage the lakes. But there's always the desire to do something bigger. So the community, the city of Monona is a Green Tier Legacy community member. And each year there are some metrics that Thor and our other staff member, Brad Bruin, need to submit. And it was my hope that we could make their job easier by sort of getting ahead of that and helping to, by using that Green Tier Legacy, using those lists of strategies, is there something that we can pluck from those strategies that Thor can then report on and make his reporting easier? Thor, I don't know if I don't want to speak for you. Is there some other way that you may have phrased that?
I'll just say, so the Green Tier Legacy Community Program, it's through the Wisconsin DNR. It's a voluntary program that we joined several years ago. And it just allows us to track our various environmental performances and sustainability performances, and then, you know, compare to other communities who are also participating. So there's a couple dozen metrics that we track every year, and that's included in the packet. And then the email I sent out this morning as well has a spreadsheet. Let me share my screen.
Thank you.
You can see. So there's 6 categories of metrics that we track: energy and emissions. So that's an energy use essentially throughout the community and municipal buildings. There's our transportation systems, land use, water quality and conservation, solid waste, and health and equity. I think where the sustainability committee can really come into play here is with the supporting actions that we also track. And these are additional things that we are doing to help support, you know, our performance in those metrics. So they have another couple dozen of these supporting action goals that we also track and report on. And I think the sustainability committee could use this as kind of to gauge priorities and identify potentially a supporting action that you want to be a focus over the next year, or a couple of them, and then we can use that and communicate it to the other city departments, you know, and especially as we're entering budget season, just to think about what actions they take that can help us improve upon these supporting actions. And sorry, I realize I'm not sharing the right window here. Second. So here are the supporting actions.
And Thor, I believe you clarified to me earlier that the information in the packet is the same as what you're showing here. It's just that here you're showing a dynamic spreadsheet as opposed to a static.
Yeah, I removed some of these other columns that Brad and I fill in.
Yeah.
You can see the important information, as otherwise it doesn't really fit on a printable page very well.
So once we get a finished report, then we can look at it and see what, if anything, we might wanna get involved with or recommend.
So I shared our report in the packet as well. It's
Okay.
not, like a nice professionally designed report or anything. It's a printout from a SharePoint website, essentially from the DNR. That's the tool we use to fill this out as a SharePoint website. And we can download the information from there. So I don't have like a spreadsheet that, shows our performance relative to other communities.
Okay.
That's not available, but we can see where we are at this year. I also, GTLC went through a big overhaul last year. And this was the first year with lots of new metrics and new supporting actions. So it's also, it would be difficult to compare our performance year over year because it's all new as of last year.
Oh, boy.
So that's why I would recommend we focus on the supporting actions more so than on the metrics for this year. And then, next year, once we have another year to report on, we can kind of see where things are going.
So we need more time and more reporting before we can get involved with this?
I don't,
No, that's not what you're saying. You're saying we can get involved with what we have so far.
I think so.
Okay.
By identifying priority areas, target areas,
Okay.
what topics, what actions do we want to focus on that we feel like we can make a difference.
Okay,
I think something that comes to my mind is sometimes during our meetings, people will share an idea that they have for a project they'd like to pursue, which is great. I think it might be helpful if we plucked projects from the Green Tier Legacy Community spreadsheet or tried to tie them back to it. That would be my thoughts on the way that we choose projects to spend time on. I just wanted to make sure that people had this in front of them. We've shared it in a past meeting also. And I think now maybe we just we need to sort of like pick out and prioritize and categorize. I think some of the work that we're already doing maps back to some of these supporting actions already. And I would just like this committee to do what it can to help the city with its reporting to GTLC. And does that mean we take the GTLC report to department heads, to other committees? If any of you listen to committee meetings, maybe when you're walking your dog, just saying it can be done with your headphones on and you've got the Monona Go app on your phone. There's a lot of interest in our community to do the right thing. Sustainability comes up in just about every committee, parks, public works, plan commission. Maybe they just could be empowered, with some information. That's kind of where my thoughts are going on this. And I just thought I'd bring it to the table and see what other folks think about it, think what the possibilities are, start a conversation, how we can really leverage this.
We've had conversations over the last year about, our actions being justified in, improving our GTLC metrics and reporting, right? Because we're putting in all this effort to be a GTLC member community. And we're preparing those reports, and then how do we apply that in a way like a sustainability plan? So, right, for instance, this is one of the supporting actions for energy and emissions is, where did that go? Number 10 here. Take steps to simplify the solar permitting process and remove other barriers to residential solar implementation. That's also kind of the guiding philosophy of the Soul Smart program.
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
we can, when we go to council and have a resolution, we can say, we're pursuing Soul Smart designation because we have these renewable energy goals, but also it'll, this is something that we've committed to in GTLC, and this is an action that we are encouraged to take in GTLC.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this, it's a little hard to digest.
It is a lot. We just wanted to get in
And
front
I
of
know
you.
you
Yeah.
explained a
It's a
few
lot.
reasons why that is. I guess, it'd be nice to say, there's a list of these activities and supporting actions that reference a different supporting action and the supported metric, and there's no numbers. It'd be nice for us to say something, at least my vision of something like this would be the sustainability committee decided that we want to see, to take Ken's example, the fleet of police vehicles to be replaced at a 5% incremental annual rate with electric vehicles or something. I mean, some metric that we have a number now, which presumably is 0. And can we get to 5% next year? And, or PV on rooftops of solar buildings. I know we've done a lot with that already. But are there numbers here anywhere that we know where we're starting from and we can pick a few that we want to champion? Is that what we're trying to do?
So those metrics are in the report in the packet. Let me pull that up. You can see what that report looks like.
And I don't know if that's what we're talking about, Teresa, like we're trying to identify a few areas that we want to prioritize and recommend to the city for measuring and highlighting.
Yeah, so for example, Tim, I don't know if this would fit what you're speaking to, but in the packet on page 54, it's the grid with the blue color along the left, and number LU, land use 5, is about tree canopy, right? So in the pursuit of increasing Monona's tree canopy, we can cite the Green Tier Legacy Communities Report, which is the city's sustainability plan. And Tim being a new member and Jamie being a very new member, you may not know that the original sustainability plan that the city created many years ago has sort of been replaced with the Green Tier Legacy Community Plan, the matrix you see in front of you now. So we really should be picking our projects and focusing on this list of strategies when we choose products, or when we choose projects. So if there were any sort of questions about why we're choosing to increase urban tree canopy, we could cite to meet a goal of the Green Tier Legacy Report.
That sounds great, and is a good example for, dovetailing the tree project you were talking about. I guess I'm wondering, is there a number? Well, we know what the tree canopy is now, and we aspire to get to something else.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying.
If it is a GTLC metric, then yes. So here's the report that we pulled from the GTLC platform. With our performance and all the metrics. So I really, it's not the greatest.
So
It's not so easy to use, right? So ER01 in the packet, you can see that's municipal use of renewable energy. So that's the percentage of our municipal energy use at government buildings that is coming from renewable energy sources. So we're at 27.55%. Yeah, it would be really great if these had, you know, that metric name as well as the tag there. And that'll be some feedback Brad and I share with the GTLC program that we need a better reporting tool. So I don't think it's feasible for us to go through everything together at one meeting.
No, yeah,
Is it something a subcommittee can at least start to work on? Looking through some of these and asking some of those questions from some of these departments where, I mean, I don't even know who is inputting these numbers or tracking them. And then if we have that backup information, like one of those numbers was like 99. I don't know what it references, but someone had to have some kind of information to back that up. So then it seems like, where is that and how can we reference that? And if we don't know where it is, then how to find out about it and make an informed decision about a recommendation going forward.
Yeah, so Brad and I enter this, we, you know, once a year, we'll sit down and do this, and it takes a lot of information seeking from other city departments, because it's kind of all encompassing. So it is, I don't know if we're not looking for assistance with like the actual data collection necessarily.
Okay.
I think the
Okay.
goal of this conversation was to just, you know, get the GTLC in front of the commission and just today set the table for, you know, how can we use it to do some strategic planning for the year ahead.
Gotcha.
in addition, I would also say, how can we use it for strategic planning, and maybe Thor, you could tell us, like, how can we make your work easier? Like, how can we? I just keep thinking back to years ago when Brad would just be overwhelmed with this reporting responsibility. And he would just sort of send out an email to the city departments and say, okay, send me in anything you've done. I need to report on it. You know, I mean, if there's some way we can sort of work on it all year round and move it out through the departments.
Yeah.
And I'm looking
that's just-
to you for your ideas on that, because you would probably have a good idea on how that could happen.
Yeah, that's just administrative efficiency that we need to explore,
Yeah.
and so I don't see the committee's role in that very clearly. You know, as the advisory and technical body here. That's really up to like the administrative offices to determine a plan forward for that.
Or maybe we make a recommendation in some way. Possibly. It's, as you say so eloquently, we're setting the table for a bigger discussion later, I think, and how we can use this report, because this really is the city's sustainability plan, or the that we're trying to follow. And as you said, also with Soul Smart, there's going to be some dovetailing here with Soul Smart, with the tree planting program, and some other work that we're doing here with solid waste.
Right, we could, you know, go through each item, each metric and supporting action, identify which departments would, you know, have a role in reporting for that.
Maybe.
And then, you know, have some kind of requirement, mandate,
Yeah.
recommendation that they are tracking that throughout the year, and yeah.
It sounds like a conversation for a meeting with perhaps Neil and Brad and you and Rick and I, maybe. Yeah.
I think that's more of an administrative question, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
What do you
All
mean,
right.
I just taking that 27% number, I mean, that's a really important number, you know, what
Yeah.
percentage of the city energy is coming from renewable resources, and where were we last year and 5 years ago and 10 years ago?
Mhm.
And it seems like we don't have a way to know, because this is a new report, and it was, you know, that
Yeah,
number
we-
and the
we
tree
could-
can, are we doing better or worse on tree canopy than we were 5 or 10 years ago? I'd love to know that,
Mhm.
and those would give us ways to be aspirational
Mhm.
rather than just focusing on reporting metrics and nuts and bolts.
Yeah,
Right.
So this is really good data that it exists, but we're,
you need trends.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Agreed.
I can see what we can pull together for that, because, some of these metrics will exist in the previous format, and we can probably pull them through.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
want too much work, but it'd be really
Yeah.
nice to do stuff.
Yeah,
Agreed. Oh,
Or I'm curious if there's a version of your spread. I think you had a spreadsheet with like multiple tabs with all of these metrics that
yeah.
you had up on the screen. And
the
just so I'm
populated
understanding,
version.
yeah, is there a version that has these numbers in a column of that spreadsheet?
Let me see what I can get you, because I have that for the metrics I reported on, and then Brad
Okay.
has his own process, so I'll check.
If not, I mean, we can go back and forth and look at them, but
Yeah,
just curious if it already existed. Thank
yeah,
you.
we can put together something in a nicer, more readable, usable format.
very good. I imagine this will come up again in future meetings. So just encourage everyone to take some time and look it over. Okay, wonderful. Next item, number 7, letter C. I just wanted to, when Thor and Rick were talking about agenda items, I just sort of asked the question, do we need to start thinking about the budget? Thor, what would you advise on, it's July now. For our own sustainability committee budget, it's so massive, just the billions that we have,
Yeah, we got $2,000 last year, I believe.
Woo-hoo!
We're
Yeah.
sitting at about 1,200 remaining right now.
Okay.
After the expense from the recycling event.
Yep.
So, I think council begins discussing operating budget in October, right? So if September would be a time, if there is a big ask that we want, we can put together a budget proposal and make that ask.
Okay.
But in the past, our budget's been around, $1,000 to $2,000.
Can we ask for more of your time paid for, Thor?
Well, that's a really good point
Yeah.
that you bring up, Ashley, because if you took the survey, there is a consideration of a permanent or a part-time sustainability position that's being considered, depending on how the referendum goes. Yeah, which would be wonderful. All right, I'm going to move on to the next item on the agenda and start winding down the meeting here, just talking about if anyone has anything to share about diversity, equity, inclusion, any discussion items, programs, projects that you may have been involved in. Now would be a wonderful time to share those. I think we've been wrapping up Pride Month in the month of June. And second thing I would say is there is still time to get out to see those wood sculptures, or maybe not. Maybe they've already left the San Damiano Park. I hope some folks had a chance to get out to see the White Horse event and to see those beautiful wood sculptures. Wonderful event with Ho-Chunk influence and roots.
They were there yesterday.
They were there yesterday? Wonderful, wonderful.
I would just, maybe point out that you guys made a nice point about the urban heat islands and the canopy cover, and Ken and I will be sure to, that touches on DEI. And we'll think about where we might, do pilot tree projects, so that's another nice.
Yeah. The Green Tier Legacy Communities Report does a nice job in including elements of environmental justice. So that makes me very happy to see those things. Anyone else have anything to share? Otherwise, we can move on. Thor, do you have any updates, staff reports beyond what we've already talked about? I don't know that you do.
I
No?
don't, no.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Yep, short turnaround for next month's meeting, only 3 weeks away, because this was a rescheduled meeting, so.
So we'll have to
Yeah.
meet Ken and Tim soon. In that case, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Second, Tim, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay. Opposed? None. Meeting is adjourned, 7:07. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.
Bye, Ken.
Take care.
Thank you.